Thank you. You're the
Recording.
right. Well, thank you guys for coming. Welcome back to another empowerment night. This is our last night of Spring Empowerment Week, and we are ending it on a high note. We've had such a good time this week. A lot of really great presenters, Zumba, college, accessible homes. We had a really good coffee chat about travel on Wednesday, which was really nice. And tonight we are going to chat with my close friend, Brittney. She has a really cool YouTube channel called Empowered Para. She's been injured for a lot longer than I have, and I'm going to let her share her story here in a second. But before we get started, I just wanted to say thank all of you guys again for spending another little hour with us this week. I know that you guys are all busy, just like me. And thank you guys for spending time. And I just want to thank Brittney for spending an hour of her time with us as well. As you guys know, all of our speakers do this on like a volunteer basis. And we're just really thankful that they take the time to share their knowledge and experience and, answer questions. So thank you to everyone. And without further ado, Brittney, you are welcome to take over.
Can you guys see my slides?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, yep. I'm gonna do the slideshow. Hang on, I gotta figure out how to start this thing. Like that. I think I got it. Okay. I have like slides mostly just to keep my brain on track. They don't have anything really profound on them. They're just the chunks of what I'm going to talk about. So if you're expecting like, a lot of information on them, there's not that. But I tend to ramble. I am long-winded. And anybody that watches my YouTube channel knows that like I always say that I ramble all the time. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you guys about empowerment. I'll give you sort of a little backstory of who I am and why I have a YouTube channel called Empowered Para. I was paralyzed when I was 13, almost 14. I was like a month shy of 14, but I still say I was 13 because technically I was. And it was in a snowmobile accident with a bunch of other teenagers. I crashed down a big hill, essentially. I don't really remember anything in the accident, but after my accident, I spent 5 years really, really lost. My mom, I was totally dependent on my mom. I couldn't cath, I couldn't do my own bowel routine, I couldn't transfer, I couldn't put my shoes on, I couldn't put my pants on, I literally couldn't do anything for myself. And it wasn't that I was depressed or because I had lots of friends, I had a boyfriend all through high school, so I had some of the things that would, a normal teenager would have. But I just was so numb to everything below my level of injury. I just honestly like would go to sleep and my mom would cath me. Like it was so unhealthy. And then as I got older, I got more and more ashamed of the fact that I needed my mom's help to go to the bathroom, which is totally fine. If you do need help, because you need help because of your level of injury, whatever that is. But it was because I wasn't making that choice on my own. It was like made for me because I wasn't willing to go through the work to try and cath and do all of those things that I was really intimidated about. And so the longer that went on and the older I got, the more ashamed that I got about it, the harder it was for me to get over that hump. And the more I had those like debilitating thoughts of like, you're so weak and like nobody's ever going to love you. Like, how can you not do this stuff for yourself? So I had all those awful thoughts in my head all the time. And then the thing that really changed it for me was meeting other people in wheelchairs. And I met my friend Margaret, who's a quadriplegic, and she's been on my channel many times. And she was like, you are not living up to your potential at all. Like I always say she calls me pathetic, but she didn't say it like that. But that's sort of my history. So empowerment to me is huge. I have a really big need to help the person that I was because it took me a really long time to get to the place I am. And I think being a slow learner is helpful for me now because there's so many people that are like, you inspire me because it took you so long to get independent and I know I can still do it. So there's a lot of things in my life where have been a really slow learner. And when I look back on the amount of years that I spent, in each limiting belief, stopping me from doing the things that I'm capable of doing, it's mind-boggling to me and crazy how I sort of endured all those years without the things that I'm doing now. So that's sort of my history. I think I just have to like press this. Nope. Hang on. I have two things going on. So now I have to keep going back to like, I have two screens and it's annoying because now I have to go back and forth between them and make sure my cursor's on the right one and I don't mess anything up. Okay, so empowerment, what's the definition? I use this definition. I actually just found this definition of empowerment when I was doing part of a research project, and we were looking for a really good definition of empowerment for people with spinal cord injuries. And this one spoke to me so much. So it's the process by which people gain control. I'm reading off of, I should read off this one. Sorry, I have two screens going on. I shouldn't read off my slide. I'll read off the one where it makes it look like my face is actually looking at you guys. It refers to the process by which people gain control over the factors and decisions that shape their lives. So they gain control. That is the key. Gain control over the factors that shape their lives. That's huge. It's the process by which they increase their assets and attributes. So the things that are going to help them gain control, skills, knowledge, whatever it is, and build capacities. You just get better and better over time. Capacity building is like, you know, how good you can get at something and how much better you can get at it once you gain those skills. To gain access, partners, networks, a voice in order to gain control. So all of those things are to allow you to feel like you have control over your life. And even if you are a very high level quadriplegic, for example, you can still feel in control of your life, even if you have to have help every single day for almost every single task. It's about autonomy. It's about feeling like you are in control of the process, not like the process is in control of you. So that's what empowerment is. But how does this actually happen? How do people become empowered? What does it take for somebody to go from a place of disempowerment, where they feel all those feelings that I had when I was younger, to the place I am now, where I'm not really afraid of much? I have anxiety. I have things that are natural things when you go from a place of comfort to discomfort. I have all those natural feelings, but how does somebody actually get from one place to another? And that's what I want to share with you guys today. I have sort of a theory on how all this happens, and I'm going to share a story with you guys to sort of illustrate how this has happened in my own life. There are 6 steps that are necessary to go through in order to feel more empowered. And they aren't always linear. Sometimes you go back and forth between the steps for a while. But almost always, and at least in my case, all of these steps have been evident in my journey, all of them somewhere in my journey. Most of the time they're linear. Sometimes they're not. Okay, so before we get into the story, I'm going to share the 6 steps to empowerment with you, just in case anybody has to jump off and they can't really wait for the rest of the stuff once I get to the end, because I was going to go through them and then share the 6 steps in a summary, but then I'm like, what if somebody has to jump off and they just want to know the whole process at the beginning? So I'm going to do that. So the 6 steps to empowerment are, first, the comfort zone. That's where you are. That's where I was when I was 13. It was comfortable for my mom to help me. It was easier until it wasn't comfortable, right? We always have that. It's comfortable until it's not. Sometimes people never ever have that feeling that their comfort zone is uncomfortable. So the comfort zone might always be the comfort zone. And for some people, the comfort zone becomes the pain zone, and that's what moves them out of it. But sometimes it just stays there. So it's the comfort zone, and then it's the nudge. I am a person, and if I think back to any of the biggest things that I'm proud of, I've almost always been pushed. Other than like academically, you know, I went to university. I wasn't afraid to do that stuff because I was confident in my academic abilities, because I had been doing good in school since I was little. So that I didn't have to be pushed or nudged in that direction. But almost everything since my accident has been a nudge or a shove, like a nudge or a shove, one or the other. It's usually somebody being like, you need to do this. And sometimes it's like an or else. My husband does that sometimes, like, shut up about it. I'm sick of hearing that you're going to do this. You've been saying it for 5 years. Just do it or don't do it. I don't care. Like, just be quiet. So sometimes it's one of those, like, where it's more of like a shove. Then there's the fear, because when you have the nudge, you're like, that, yeah, I think I can do that. And then you get into it and you're like, nope, it's a lot harder, or it's way scarier. So I don't want to. I just want to go back to my comfort zone. It's way easier. And then there's the choice. You can either lose all the momentum you had and go back home, back to the comfort zone, or you can move forward and go, okay, this is hard. I don't feel good. It's uncomfortable, but I'm going to keep going. So that's the choice you have to make. Then there's the failure, because inevitably you are going to fail. Not every pursuit that you have is going to be a success. There's going to be bumps along the way. You want to go admit somebody? There's going to be bumps along the way. And that failure is just part of the process. But on the other side of failure is the freedom. And people stop too early. People stop at the failure and they go, see, I knew I should have stayed in my comfort zone. I knew I wasn't made for this. I knew this was a bad idea. I knew I was stupid. I knew I was too this, too that, whatever it is. They stop at the failure. Sometimes they stop at the choice. Sometimes they stop at the nudge. Sometimes people stop wherever along this journey, but they go back to the comfort zone, and the freedom is only at the end. So we got to make it to the end. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm going to describe to you what my comfort looked like. And the story that I'm going to tell you begins in 2014. And at that time, I had 2 kids. My daughter was 18 months old. She's so cute in this picture. And my son was 5.5, I think. 4.5, 5.5. They're 4 years apart. I can't do the math. That's not my strong suit. They're 4 years apart. So she was 18 months. She was almost 2. So he was almost 6. Yeah, so 5.5. So they're little at the time. I was a stay-at-home mom after I had finished university. Side note, I got pregnant with my son in university, which was another like empowerment journey for me. But that's a whole different story. So after I had my son, I went back to university. I graduated. I got pregnant with my daughter. I had my daughter. And then I was like, I need to be a stay-at-home mom. That was all really hard. So I'm just going to chill for a bit. I was independent with my personal care, but only in a very structured environment. Oh yeah, so that's why I put the toilet arm pictures in there. So that is like just something, one of the things that I needed in my structured environment to get off the toilet. I needed those toilet arms. I needed a sliding board. My bed was the exact height of my wheelchair. I couldn't get on and off the couch, so my husband always used to lift me. Never could I get into a vehicle by myself. And I'd never traveled alone by myself at all. And I always traveled with somebody that I trusted that could lift me on and off the toilet, in a bathroom. That was my comfort zone. I had never exercised since being in a wheelchair. So I'm in my 20s and I was paralyzed at 13, never set foot in a gym, rolled into a gym. I'm not setting foot in any gyms. But I never exercised. I never traveled alone. I never tried any adaptive recreational sports. I had just learned how to live basically after I got independent, after that whole 5 years of my mom taking care of me. And then I got pregnant. I felt like right away, like I moved out, got independent, and then I was like, got pregnant. So then I just went on a different journey. So all of the things, that I wanted to do as a wheelchair user, I didn't do because I was a mom, and that was fine because that was my journey. But I had one comfort zone. I was good at being a mom. I had figured out how to do that independently. I felt really good about myself in that way, but every other part of my life was just comfort. Don't travel anywhere, don't go too far from home, don't anything without my husband or somebody that I trusted, like my mom or my sister. So that was my comfort zone. But I wanted all of those things. I just, again, was stuck. I was stuck in that, like, I don't know how, right? Same as I was when my mom was taking care of me. I wanted bigger things. I just didn't know how to get there. And then came the nudge in 2014 from my cousin. Oh, hang on, that went too far. How do I go back? Nope, that's going the other way. Nope. There. I have to get back to this. Why things are from my cousin Amanda. So my cousin Amanda is the one with short hair on the right-hand side with me with the game or the whatever we're playing. I don't even know what we're playing, but she's the one with the big open mouth going, ah, and I'm sitting there like, and that is our personality entirely. She was a forced sort of playmate of mine because, oh, I forgot to define what the nudge is. Sorry. I just looked back at my notes. So that nudge is something that pushes you slightly outside of your comfort zone. It's like a thought, a suggestion from someone else. It can be internal. So it can be like when your comfort zone gets uncomfortable, like mine was when I wanted to be independent and my mom took care of me. So the nudge was my own nudge. I was like, this is embarrassing. This hurts me too much. Or sometimes it can be an external nudge. Like somebody's like, you are capable of more. That happened to me many times. So the nudge is really anything that puts that first idea in your head of maybe there's more. Maybe this is not, the place that I'm supposed to be in this comfort zone. And for me, security is one of my core needs. So it's really hard for me to accept nudges at first because even though I want that stuff, security is more important. And adventure is another one of my core needs. So I'm always weighing the two. I'm like, is the adventure worth risking my security? And sometimes I'll be like, okay, I do a risk assessment and then I feel like it is. And then I go. And sometimes if it's not, then I'm like, no, it's not. I'm going to stay in this comfort zone. So yeah, my cousin in this situation was the one to be the nudger. She was the nudger. So it was 2014. But I just want to explain like why she was the nudger. And then I'll explain like what the nudge was in 2014. So she in that picture, you can see she's like mouth open wide, crazy. That's her. We were best friends by default. My grandma had a whole set of girl grandkids in a row, and we got lumped in friend groups just like by default. My grandma was like, I'm efficient. She used to make clothes, and that picture there is the clothes my grandma used to make, and we all used to match. And we would have to like usually match with the big girls and the little girls. And I was part of the little girl group with Amanda and my cousin Tamara, who's going to come into the story a little bit later. But we got lumped together as friend groups and we became best friends. But I was always the goody two shoes one. So was Tamara. Amanda was the one that was like, we're going to get into some shit. And we were the goody two shoes. It's like, I don't think we're supposed to do that. And she's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. So I was the goody two shoes, always wanted to follow the rules because I wanted approval from the adults in my life. And Amanda was the complete opposite. For her, the adventure she wanted was always worth the disapproval because it was the adventure that she wanted. And if she had to look, an adult in the eye and get the like, that was a bad choice, that was worth it for her. It didn't matter. The approval didn't matter. Her teachers, her parents, my grandparents, it did not matter what they thought if the adventure was worth it for her. She was confident, all that stuff. She always used to like make me do things when we were at my grandma's. She'd like, let's go to the river because my grandma lived by the river. And I'm like, I can't go to the river. We're not allowed to go down by the water. People drown down there. And she's like, we're not going to go in the water. We're just going to go down to the river. And so she would convince me to do something stupid like that and be like, grandma's not going to know. I promise she's not going to know. And then we get home, she would like smell us. And she was like, you were at the river, weren't you? And I'm like, no. And then Amanda's like, yes, we were, because she's also a terrible liar. And I'm like, well, you can't lie. You're the worst. And then, yeah, my grandma's like, I've lived by this river forever and I can smell the mud. So that's just like one of the things that we got into when we were kids. But she's always pushing me outside of my comfort zone. So we hung out all the time when we were kids. And then she moved away when she was 9. And I think I was almost 9, like 8 and a half. And even though she lived so far away, we still really remained close. We were, I don't know, like we're still best friends. We remained really, really close. And she would always, always come visit when there was something important. And so that's where the story begins now. So there's something important was happening in 2014 and Amanda was coming from Montana where she moved. She was like 1,000 kilometers away and she was coming to my cousin Tamara, who's the other little girl in the story, to her wedding. We went to the wedding and my house is sort of like in between where I used to live as a kid and where Amanda lives in Montana. So she stopped at my house, like halfway or whatever, to not halfway, it's like a third of the way, I guess. But she stopped at my house on the way back from the wedding and stayed with me. And then on the morning Amanda was going to leave, we kept hugging and crying and telling each other we wished we had more time. And then Amanda had a crazy idea. She's like, you should come with me. And I'm like, to Montana? And all I could think in my head is, oh my God, risky, never been to Montana. I've never seen her house. I don't travel by myself. I've never traveled with Amanda. It was all the things that I would normally be terrified of. But Amanda, being the same person that she was when she was a kid, she made her case why the adventure was worth it. Like, we'll figure all that stuff out. It'll be fine. She promised that her house was mostly accessible, that it was going to be so much fun, and that I could probably rent all the things that I would need, like the toilet arms that helped me get on the toilet when I got down there. And that I didn't need to bring anything because she had zero room in her car, other than for like my bag and the car seat for my child, who I also had to take. So I was freaking out, not only because I'd never traveled by myself, but I'd never just, left and taken my 18-month-old either. My son was at his grandparents' house for the week. So I was like, okay, I don't at least have to worry about him, but I have to take Jamie. So a couple things that I was freaking out about. So I was like, obviously like on a high from the wedding and being like, I love you so much. So I said, okay, I'll go. The drive was 12 hours and I was like, we have to stop in between, but I decided to go. I packed all my stuff in about an hour. I hopped in the car with Amanda and we headed to Montana. I made her promise that we would stop halfway through because I didn't want Jamie to have to sit through a 12-hour drive when she was that little. And Amanda's like, we're going to stop halfway through. Promise. She was like, we're gonna. The first 3 hours of the trip, super exciting. I was listening to music, singing at the top of my lungs. I was just like having the time of my life. I was like, this is the best decision ever. Jamie was sleeping in her car seat. I was chilling. It was great. 3 hours turned into 4 hours turned into 5. And by this time, Jamie had woken up and she didn't like the 12-hour drive anymore. She was fussing and crying and screaming. And that's when my excitement turned into fear and the next stop on the empowerment journey. I gotta do this now. Oh, there was the picture of us at the wedding. I forgot to do that one. I'm freaking terrible. Okay, so the fear. Sorry, I'm like the worst at changing slides. I think they're gonna be helpful and then they aren't. So Jamie had been crying for over an hour. She was sweaty, her face was red. It was torture watching, my 18-month-old like squirm being trapped in. It was like somebody being in a straitjacket. She was like just having a temper tantrum in her car seat. And I was freaking out. So I was like, oh my God, this is a bad idea. We were halfway to Montana. All I wanted to do was go back to my comfort zone, which was home. I was like, we got to go back. I started thinking about all the things that could go wrong when I got there. What would the bathroom look like? What if I couldn't get the equipment I needed? What if I can't get a flight home? Because we decided that she would drive me down and then I was going to fly home alone with my kid, which I'd never done before in my life. And I thought that was a good idea at the time. Anyway, I was crying and being hysterical. And we were pulling into the town that we had agreed to stop for the night. We pulled into the gas station. And just as we did, Jamie fell asleep. I was relieved about that. But then I was like, she's going to be so grumpy when I wake her up to go into the hotel room. Amanda hopped out of the car, got gas, got munchies and things like that for the hotel room. Or so I thought the hotel room. And she gets back in and she goes, we're not stopping for the night. We're not. And I'm like, what? We have to stop for the night. And she was like, Jamie just fell back asleep. We are already halfway there. It doesn't make any sense if we finish the drive tomorrow. It's going to be just as bad for her today or tomorrow. I was like, oh my God. And so at that point, I had a choice to make, which is the next stop on the empowerment journey. Oh, hang on. I got to do this cursor over here. There. Now the choice. Now I go back to this screen. My husband's always like, 2 screens are so good. No, not good. Men. Okay. So the choice. This would be like the first choice in many that I had to make on the journey to Montana. Things weren't turning out how I wanted them to. So what was I going to do about it? And this is a choice that we all have to make. Was my fear and hysteria making anything better? Probably not. Could I handle it? Probably. And there was really no turning back. It didn't make sense to turn back. We were halfway there. It would have been just as painful to go back the other way as it would to go the rest of the way. So we decided to keep driving. And at this point, I just want to like pause and sort of relate this to everybody else. Even though this is on a road trip and it's like very literal that I wanted to turn back, this is the point that most people want to turn back, and you lose all of the momentum that you created going as far as you have, because you hit the fear and then you have the choice. And the comfortable choice, the safe choice, is to go back. It's to go back to what you know, to what you're comfortable with, to the things that, you know, the fear's not there. That anxiety is going to go away right away. But this is the most critical part of the journey, because the confidence comes in the second half. And if we turn back, then we're losing our ability to get to that point where we gain confidence. And when we turn back, we chip away at our confidence, because if we turn back, then we get there and we say, see, I knew you couldn't do it. I knew you couldn't do it. And that just makes the next time you have to make a choice, or the next time you get a nudge, even scarier. It makes leaving your comfort zone harder and harder every time you turn back. So whenever I feel like there's a choice that's worth making, keep going, keep going. So I just wanted to say that, because if you don't, then you get those awful thoughts, and that's the definition of disempowering. You don't want to go back to a disempowering place. So we have to keep going. Back to the trip. I blocked out the rest of the trip. I honestly don't even remember the second half of the trip. We got to Amanda's at like 2 a.m. We pulled into the driveway of her condo, and all I could think was that it was a huge relief that the entrance that I saw was ground level. Because I was like, what? No condos in Canada are ground level. Like, they're not accessible. I didn't get it. She lives in America, and a lot of them are. They're like 2 stories that start on the ground level and go up. But here there's like a basement, and then there's like stairs to get in, and then stairs to go up. There's like 3 levels, but she didn't have a basement, and that you just went into the. So when I got there, I was like, oh, thank God. So it was ground level, and I was like, phew, at least I can get in. All I wanted to do was get in the house, put my daughter to bed, and go to sleep. But that's when I reached the next stop of my empowerment journey, the failure. Okay, I gotta go cursor over here. Nope, still didn't. I have to press the cursor. There. I keep messing this up. And then I lose my notes where I am. Hang on. Where am I? No, I already did that one. There, I'm at the failure. Okay, so we get into Amanda's condo, and that's when she told me that the bedroom that I was going to be sleeping in was upstairs, not accessible. She conveniently left that part out when she was assuring me that everything would be okay before we left. And looking back, I love her for that, because she knew all along that she was going to have to carry me up a long flight of stairs for 4 days, twice a day. And she still, oh, hang on, I got to let this person in. And she still wanted me to come. She didn't even think twice about it. And there have been so many times that I myself have removed myself from situations because I was afraid of being a burden to somebody. So she had told me that she was going to have to carry me up the stairs. I would have just removed myself from that situation. That would have been the risk is too much. And I would have been like, I'm not going. It makes no sense for you to carry me up all of those stairs that many times a day. So I would have just removed myself. And the fact that she left that out, that's love. I was really mad at the time, but when I look back, I'm like, that's how badly she wanted to hang out with me for those 4 days. And a lot of times people in wheelchairs tell themselves that people don't want to hang out with them. And I find that we often remove ourselves from situations, not the other way around. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that was something she left out because she loved me. And even though it was annoying for me when I got there, it was out of pure love. So anyway, Amanda lifted me up the stairs. I put Jamie to bed and I went to sleep. I survived the first day. Momentum. That's when I gained momentum. So that first day, I'm like, I'm alive. I'm good. That's the momentum. I woke up the next day ready to call all the mobility places in the area so that I could rent a shower chair and those toilet arm things that I needed to get on and off the toilet. Hang on. Do I need to change slides? I don't think so. No, I have it in my notes when I need to change slides. So yeah, I was phoning all the mobility places. I called 1 place, 2 places, 3 places, 4 places, 5 places. And all of them told me that in the state of Montana, they don't rent any mobility equipment that is bathroom related for hygiene reasons. And so I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do on Monday? And just as a side note, at the time I did my bowel routine Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was on the weekend. So we got there like super, super late Friday night at like 2 a.m. And then I had the Saturday, the Sunday to try and figure something out. And then I had to do bowel routine on Monday. So I was like, oh my God, enter my second freak out. This is another thing that I don't know what I'm going to do. All I could think was, how am I going to get off the toilet? How am I going to get off the toilet? I don't want to have to ask Amanda for help. And a little more context into my bowel routine, why I don't want to ask her for help. I use a suppository. So I put my suppository in, I lay on the bed, and then I get up. And there's 2 transfers from my bed, between my bed and the toilet, onto my wheelchair, and then from my wheelchair onto the toilet. And in between those 2 transfers, I didn't want Amanda anywhere near in case I A, farted, or B, pooped. I was like, if either of those things happen, I will die in front of her. So I was like, okay, I have a choice to make. I can either figure out how to get on and off the toilet by myself, which I've never done ever, or I can ask for help. Those are my 2 choices. Neither seemed like a good choice, but I had to make one of them. I was there. There was nothing I could do about it. I thought about buying all of that equipment, but I was like, I'm only there for like 2 days and it was going to be like hundreds of dollars. So I made that choice. And then these are the ones left to weigh. So Monday rolled around. I got on the toilet to do my bowel routine, cleaned myself up. And then it was time to get off the toilet, which getting on is always fine because it's downhill. So getting off was the obstacle. The 6 inches up to the seat of my wheelchair may as well have been Mount Everest, because it just seemed impossible. I'd never done it before, and every other time I've tried, I'd fail. So I was scared. I made a few feeble attempts to get back onto my wheelchair, and I fell both times, but I wasn't really committing. I don't know if any of you like know that when you transfer, you just have to commit. Like if you try and like half-ass it, you fall. So I just had to commit. So I was like, okay, one more time. And if I don't get this, I'll call Amanda and I'll ask for help, which she said, I don't care. She's like, I don't care if I see your butt. I don't care. She's like, I've wiped so many butts. Like she made me feel so good about it, but it was like my own thing. I was like, I just don't want to. I gave the fear I was feeling the big FU. I was like, I'm just going to do this. And anger is sometimes like the best thing to get you over that hump. It's like the thing you need to be like, I'm doing it. And I don't care. Fear, you can F off. So one more time, and I made it. Look right to the edge of my wheelchair, but I made it. Like I made it enough that I could grab my wheels and pull myself back. For 14 years, like this, I've been in a wheelchair for 14 years at this point. I'd used those toilet supports to get off the toilet. That day, I learned that I didn't need them. I survived bowel routine and more momentum. So more momentum again. So that's like the second thing. Yay, I'm getting there, right? And now that's when the last stop in the empowerment journey comes. That's the freedom. So now I have to go over to this, click, did it right. Like only took me the last part of the thing to actually not bugger that up. Okay, so freedom. The rest of the trip was honestly a breeze. Not that I didn't face obstacles, because I did, but I was confident that I could crush them. Like I wasn't afraid of the obstacle because I had that momentum. And I was like, hey, I made it through that fear. I came to Montana. I was so afraid. I got here. I got on the bed. I did all the things myself and I got off the toilet. And honestly, that might seem like such a small thing, but that's the climax in this whole story. Me getting off that toilet was mind-blowing for me. Like, it was mind-blowing when you have something that you think that you can't do for that long and you do it in 3 tries, and you're like, wow. So that was like amazing. I survived the whole trip. And more importantly, I made amazing memories. They are something that I will treasure forever. It is literally one of my favorite trips ever, ever, ever. I have so many good memories. And this is just sort of a side note. My other cousin that lives there, her son, who we went to visit, he recently just committed suicide. And I have so many good memories of him from that trip, playing with my kids, laughing, all of these amazing things. And if I had turned around or decided not to go, those memories wouldn't be in my mind and I wouldn't have them. So it's just one of those things that I will cherish forever. The trip was amazing. And I learned 2 things on that trip. One, leaving my comfort zone is worth it. Always, even if I fail. Number 2, I'm capable of way more than I give myself credit for, and so are you. People, if you ask people what they are capable of, they way underestimate their own abilities. And if not given a choice, if they have to do something, they will. It's just like those moms that jump into action when their kids are in danger. You might think you're incapable of something until you have to do it. And that's why those nudges are so important sometimes. And you have to watch for them. I came home from that trip and immediately took the toilet arms off of my toilet. I have not used them since. And I was capable of that transfer all along. The obstacle was in my own head. It was not anywhere in my physical body. It was in my head. So yeah, that's something that I have so many more stories like this of little things. Me wearing the same shoes for years, me never wearing shorts for years, me not being able to get off the couch, me not being able to transfer into my wheelchair, me not going to the gym, me not using a hand cycle, all of these things that I stopped myself from doing because I was afraid. And every time I challenged that fear, that's empowerment was waiting on the other side. So, you can't think your way to empowerment. You really can't think your way to empowerment. It only comes with action and experience. I didn't become empowered para by being a quick learner, never failing, and always feeling confident. Like the opposite, actually. I became empowered para by feeling shame and discomfort, by being uncertain and being insecure most of the time. I'm still insecure. So much of the time. I feel the fear. I just like give it a big F you and do it anyway. And that's how I really think that you become empowered. So my challenge for you guys, and then I'll let you guys like ask questions if you want, or anything really. I left a little bit of time for questions, but my challenge for you guys is to pick just one thing, and it can be super small. Like I have examples of small things that I was afraid of, like not wearing shorts. Like I didn't wear shorts for like 10 years because I was afraid that people would look at my legs and judge how skinny they were. That's a small thing that some people are afraid of, that is easy to challenge and, change. So pick something that you're afraid of, and do it anyway. And then see if you can identify all those different stages, in the process. Because I've pretty much every one of those situations, I've been able to identify the different steps. And I think they're all really critical and important for getting to the end, which is the freedom part, which is what you want. So that's my sort of recipe for how to be empowered. Just, I always say my thoughts are assholes, and yours probably are too. So don't listen to them, because thoughts are like, your brain is just an organ. It just pops random crap up all the time. And the thing that empowered people do is they take the ones that are going to get them to where they want to go and they use them. And the ones that don't, they quietly thank them and say, not today. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I do have, like Bree said at the beginning, I do have a YouTube channel called Empowered Para. If you're just joining us, there was a few people that got admitted. So if you want to go check out my channel, I have lots of content on there, very honest. if you
Mhm.
want very honest content, you can go check that out. And yeah, you can email me at empoweredpara@gmail.com. I try and answer as many emails as I can. If you ever have any questions or need support, that's what I'm here for. That's sort of what I feel like my purpose is now, is just helping other people that were so stuck the way I was for so many years. Yep, I think I did all my notes. Yep. Oh wait, I missed one thing. Sorry, I just saw this in my notes. So the essential skills that I think are important to make it through your empowerment journey are having a level of comfort with uncertainty. So it's like a little scary. Seeing failure as a good thing, not seeing it as like a reason to retreat. Being curious, especially about like those negative thoughts or about things that come up, instead of seeing it as like horrible, just be curious about it and like, oh, that's interesting. Not assigning meaning to things that don't go your way. Don't assign meaning. Like, if this doesn't work out, I know it's not meant for me. I have to stop. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people assign meaning to things like that, and then they just kind of work themselves backwards back to their comfort zone. And then focusing on the things that you can control, because there's only so much we can control in this life. And that's what empowerment's about, is feeling like you're in control. So focusing on those things that make you feel in control is the way to stay positive while you're kind of going through those different steps. So yeah, now I'm done my notes. Nope. There. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Does anybody have any questions for me in general, or about my presentation, or about empowerment? No?
It
Quiet?
sounds like
We're
you just
quite a
needed
bunch,
to
aren't we?
take the theme, don't think, just do.
That really, honestly, I know that sounds like reckless or whatever, but I honestly think that is how you have to do things. Don't think, just do. Because clarity comes with action, not thought. You can't think your way into clarity. You can't be like, you know, think your way to something that's going to make you feel better about doing the thing you're scared of. The only way it gets better is by doing it. I want to say, like, even last year, doing a presentation like this, maybe not last year, maybe like 2 years ago, I'm pretty comfortable with it now. I would have been terrified and like a little nervous doing it. And I used to be self-conscious about how much I said like, or if I messed up a little bit. And now I'm like, who cares? The people are here for the information. So that's just another example of what I was scared of that I didn't think I was capable of doing. I said, I can't start a YouTube channel because I'm not articulate. I say things like when I talk. And even though that's it's a running joke on my channel, how many times I say like, I still show up to do the thing and I work on it, but I don't let that stop me doing it. But those are things I told myself for years. I'm not articulate. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever. And I just think if we let all that stuff stop us, then it really limited me for years. For so many years, I didn't do things that bring me joy now. I didn't experience things with my family because I was afraid of a few of the little things, and always the obstacles have been in my head. So, and there's still things I have to do. I've never gotten into a bathtub by myself. I've got like on a bath bench I have, but like into the tub, I haven't done it by myself. So there's some things that I'm like still working on, just like we all are, I guess.
Fear is a big factor, and also I didn't mean to take the quote from Top Gun Maverick, but I just couldn't resist.
It's a good quote.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story, just because I know Brittney and I are really close, but for those of you who don't know me personally, but I've also been injured like 12 years. And honestly, my independence journey didn't start until like 2 years ago when I met people like Brittney. I didn't have any wheelchair friends until like 2020. I didn't even try to get involved with the disability community. I was still using my sliding board and like doing most of my stuff on commodes or in bed. And it was meeting people like Brittney who gave me the courage to be like, oh yeah, maybe I can get on a toilet too. My roommate Jessie has a huge impact on the growth that I've had, because like Brittney, it's very relatable. Like I was just more scared of me. Like I was scared of failing more than than my actual ability. Like, cause I know I'm able to do a lot of things, but I'm just like scared of the failure part of it, right? And so it's nice to have people like Brittney or Jesse or whomever to be like, no, you can do it. Don't be scared. Just full send. Just sometimes you just have to full send. When
Yeah.
Brittney was talking about the transfer thing, like you have to commit. You have
Yeah.
to commit.
I so
You
have to
can't
commit.
half-ass the
No,
transfer.
nobody likes
Will
to,
fall. Um,
sorry, nobody
the
likes
last
to
thing though.
fail. Nobody
Oh,
likes
sorry,
to
go ahead.
fail. I was just going to
Yeah.
say, nobody likes to fail, but failure is probably one of the biggest learning
Mhm.
experiences you have,
Mhm.
because then you figure out how to correct it. So the
Yeah.
fear of failure is bad, but don't take failure as a negative. Take it as a positive because you learn from it.
That's how
Yeah,
you correct. That's how you
Yep.
course correct. Failure
yeah.
is a course correction tool. If you fail, you're like, okay, or you can try harder. When I was learning to get into my chair from the floor, because it had been 19 years, I'd been in a wheelchair 19 years before I learned to transfer from the floor to my wheelchair. That's a long time to get stuck in a pattern and to not use the muscles that you need and all that stuff. So I failed for a whole 2 years. I was like, I am not giving up on this mountain of a thing that I want to do. I don't care if 2 years and whatever. I was like, I'll work out. I got to go work out and work on these muscles. And then I would try again like 3 months later, and then I would fail. And then I would try every day for, oh, it was a process for sure. But the only reason, like you say, Joe, that I learned to get in my chair is by doing it every single day and failing and going, that didn't work. Okay, try something else. And then eventually my body knew better than I did how to balance and how to do what it needed to do. And once you stop thinking with your brain and like just go with what your muscles already know how to do, it's so much easier. It's so much easier. Like strengthen those muscles for sure. Sometimes you have to use your brain to kind of get that going. But once you do it, your body knows so much better how to get into a pattern and stick to that pattern. If it's a good pattern, it's awesome. If it's a bad pattern, it's bad too. Like it's bad. Your body knows how to go into patterns either way. But yeah, the failure is the course correction tool, the best one.
Mhm.
I absolutely agree. Oh, well, this has been really nice. Does anyone else have any questions about Brittany's
Yeah,
presentation?
I was just hi Brett, it's Phil here from
Hi.
Ontario.
Oh,
Uh,
are you
yeah,
Chris's friend?
yes,
Oh,
yes. Do you
hey,
remember
okay.
you sent me the
Yeah,
those
the
rubber
things that
handles? That's
covered,
right.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have Pip Pop on there, so
Yeah, that's just stupid name I put
no,
on when I
it's totally
signed up,
fine.
and then I don't know how to change it. So you know how you do that. I was watching your video last night. I was so impressed last night. Your trip out to Vancouver by yourself. I thought that's such a big thing because I'm scared crapless to go by myself anywhere like that, you know. And well, I we travel together, my wife and I, but I was really impressed with you doing that because like you were just telling us how you felt about the, you know, the where you were staying. It wasn't really accessible. They said it was, and
Mhm.
it must have been. And then doing a photo shoot and everything like that, that must have been something too, right? You know?
It was all
Uh,
terrifying. I
yeah,
was so
yeah.
afraid. Like before I left, I was like looking up and I wanted to vlog more about it. I like looked up the airport map. I looked up the train schedules. I Googled like people that did accessible travel videos to see like what does this look like getting onto the C bus and like all of these things. Cause I was like, I have no idea what this is gonna be like. And even then when I called the cab company, I was terrified because I was like, is it gonna be a big SUV that I can't get in? Is it gonna be, and then that ended up
Mhm.
being really good. But yeah, there was definitely like a number of things that I could have gotten really discouraged about, but I've just done enough work over the years that I was like,
Yep.
okay, well, I'll figure this out. And if I have to, like, I had to wait on the porch and signal to the cab driver to get out of his car because I couldn't get off the porch. Like, it was a big bump
Yep.
down. And so I was like, you have to get out.
Come
Like,
up here. I know it's amazing. Is we love to travel. We travel quite a bit, but it's by myself. I don't think I would ever try that yet. You know, it's just I'm not there yet. But it's about getting out of your headspace. That's I think
oh,
you're
totally.
saying it's getting out of your head and going, okay, well, it's really, I think we create in our brains something that's really not there, you know, unsubstantiated fears, and we just set ourselves up for failure a lot of times because of our between our ears, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Don't
But
think, just do.
Yeah,
yeah,
don't think, just do.
exactly.
Honestly,
Yep.
I'm a substitute teacher, so I failed to say that I'm a teacher, just for anybody that was curious if I have a job, part-time. But when I was talking to a class the other day of grade 9 kids, and I always talk about my accident and peer pressure, and I said most of the peer pressure, just like our fear, is in our head. It's not other people saying you should, smoke this joint, or you should, not go in this car. It's not them making fun of you. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's you thinking, I can't say no to this joint, otherwise they're going to think I'm a loser, and it's the peer pressure is in our head. And so is the fear. And I think that's just like a lesson that, I wish I'd learned a lot earlier. It would probably have saved me so much angst, but now I know the fear is in my head, and I'm still like grateful for it. I'm like, hey, you're there. I know you're trying to keep me safe. I know we're friends still, but you don't get to be the driver today. And you'll be in the back seat with your, under the covers, being like, I'm waiting till this is over. And I want to do like a video about that, with what goes on in my own head, because the fear is there going like, you're gonna fail, and then goes back under the covers. And then
That's great.
There's all those other things in your brain that are like fighting over, and that's really what it is for me. I have so many voices in my head just fighting over like what's the right thing to do, and most of the time in a moment of clarity I'm like, let's choose the one that's not afraid.
So I just wanted to thank you, Brittney and Jesse and Brianna, for having this sort of platform, because I've been injured for 10 years and found Brittney a couple years ago online and watched, and then maybe a year ago found Jesse. I've kind of talked to you guys just a little bit through messaging, and but without you guys, I've come through dark places through all this. And I think if I hadn't stumbled on to the three of you, it wouldn't have been good. So I really appreciate it.
Making me tear
Yeah, that's true.
That does make me feel so good, because that's why we do it. That's why we
Exactly.
do any of it, is to make other people feel not alone.
100%, 100%. Yeah, because like Brittney said, she waited a long time. I waited a long time trying to figure things out. We let fear get in the way. But I think the moral, what I've taken away and what I've learned, is that it's really never too late. Like 10 years in, 15 years in, 20 years in, it doesn't matter how long you've been injured. It doesn't matter if it happened yesterday. It doesn't matter how long that you've stayed in one state of mind or whatever, you can change it. You absolutely can change it. I was able to change myself. I physically don't look the same. I mentally am not the same. And it's just really empowering, like once you take control of your life. And like Brittney said, we do this for you guys. Brittney, do you have any final comments that you'd like to share before we end the night?
I just want to say that, and I always argue with my mom about this, but she's like, some people are just born with that ability to overcome. And I think that's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. All of these things are skills. Confidence is a skill.
It's learned.
And you have to learn it, you have to practice it, you have to hone it. Because I know it's a skill. I've been like terribly shy and disempowered and all those things in a lot of different areas. I know it's a skill, and you have to make that choice whether you want to learn the skills or not, and put yourself in the situations that are going to let you gain the confidence and build the momentum. So I just wanted to end with that, because I'm not special. I'm really not special. I feel insecure every day. I am not confident 100% of the time. I worry all the time. Just ask my husband. He's like, you're neurotic. Stop telling me things in your head. You're gonna make
That's what makes you special, though. For us, that's what makes you special.
Yep.
That's what I think.
I think Brianna is because you're like us.
That's right. Yep.
That's what I think. That's what I always tell myself. I'm like, it's okay. And I love that it's a journey. Like I can be one way
Mhm.
and show that I can move through it and be on the other side, but that still doesn't take away the fact that I was there. And that's where I get my strength from, is that I had to go through all that stuff. And now sometimes I look back and I go like, wow, that's crazy. But I still live with anxiety. I still live with self-doubt. I still live with all that stuff. And I don't expect it to go away. I don't expect it to go away anymore. I just kind of know it's there and learn how to manage it better. So yeah, it's a skill. But Joe, you have your hand raised.
I was just going to say that everybody progresses at their own pace.
Yes.
You know, and after your injury, you just have your own pace that you go.
That's so true.
But to have people like you and Brianna and Jesse be able to show us what's possible and maybe give that nudge is fantastic. So I thank you so much, and Brianna, thank you, and foundation to provide that this week. So I know you guys have been busy, so I will be back because I missed last night. I guess I didn't sign up for it. And when I tried to, I couldn't get back in. So, but anyway, yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you guys. You guys are the reasons why we do this. Jessie has a really personal story. You know, she was able to release from rehabbing, go back into a home and have a full life. And there was someone she was in PT with who ended up back in a nursing home, and he's still there to this day, 8 years later. And that is why we do this. We do this for people, you know, like him, who we want to help grow independence. We want to give people their lives back. We want to show people that there is other options. And so for as long as people will keep coming back, we will keep having these empowerment events. So thank you guys again, like not only for showing up for me and Brittney and the foundation, but thank you so much for showing up for you guys. You know, taking the time to listen to this is going to make you guys stronger. It's going to give you guys that little push, that little nudge that Brittney was talking about earlier, you know, to really try something different and get out of that comfort zone. Thank you guys so much for a really great week. We will have another empowerment event in August.
Cool.
We are still working on building that one up, so just be looking out on our socials for that. At the end of this, hopefully we got this recorded. Brittney's helping me with this tonight.
It's good. We're
So,
good.
Once this is uploaded and we get this all taken care of, I will send out an email with all of Brittney's information, with her website, her YouTube, social media and stuff, and along with the chat that we had here tonight. So again, thank you guys all so much. And Pip, you had one last comment before we
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Brittney, when can you tell us what your shoot was about? You know?
Oh, it was a modeling thing for like a major supermarket. I don't think I'm allowed to say the supermarket.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
it was totally just print. It was like I was just modeling, pretending I was like putting a dress on, and like I was in like pajamas, and like I was like holding a dress out and like pretending I was getting ready. And it was funny because it was like
that's
all
great.
men doing the shoot, and they're like, pretend to put mascara on, and I'm like, where with what mirror? They're like, we're no mirror. I'm like, no woman
Yeah.
ever puts mascara on without a mirror unless you want to poke your eyeball out with the. And they were like, oh, I
Yeah,
suppose we need a mirror of some kind. Like the guy was like, just pretend. I'm like, I'm sticking something close to my eyeball. Like, how do you do that? It was funny, but
And it's been cool seeing you on CBC too.
yeah,
that was a
I'm
nice
excited about that.
surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
No,
awesome.
lots of cool things coming up. I'm kind of like foraying into the acting world a little bit. So
Good for
I'll
you.
keep you guys posted.
Good show.
Great
So
presentation, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, you guys
Brianna.
all have a lovely night, and we will see
Brianna,
you.
you don't have
next
pink
week.
hair this time. Your hair's not pink.
Is your
this
hair
time.
not pink?
No, it's
Last
not.
time
pink.
it oh,
Oh,
different.
it is.
a little bit.
different,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember
that's
last time
fine.
it was pink. Yeah.
Yep, we're transitioning into a more professional look here. We're working
Oh.
on it. We're gonna keep a little bit of color, but we're gonna try
Right.
to be a
Good
little more
show.
professional.
Good show. I thank you very much for this platform.
Oh no,
Much
thank you
appreciated.
guys. You guys are
Thank
the
you
best.
guys so much.
It's great.
It was so much fun.
Thanks, Brittney. It
Thanks,
was very good.
Yeah,
It was
thanks.
excellent.
Been fun.
Bye, guys. Bye, Bert.